Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we are back with you for a Week 7 preview. We're going to do a lot on this episode involving breaking down Thursday Night Football for you, going over some of these Jaguars skill players and some of these Saints not-so-skill players. We're going to give you a little bit of a Week 7 look ahead as we give you some studs and duds. It's going to be a fun time. We got some news for you as well. Before we do all that, though, Wes, how's it going?
Things are good. Once again, I felt like we were treated to another cursed Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football, and makes me appreciate the really good teams in the NFL. No disrespect, but it's just like, man, some of these offenses are just, I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to say, it makes you appreciate the Dolphins offense a lot and how exciting they are constantly.
Yeah.
I've got one thing to show you.
Okay.
This is gonna be the coolest thing ever. Okay, so I was recently asked to be a groomsman, and I was gifted. I asked if I could share this on the podcast. He said yes. I was gifted a little box. How cool is that? Just to begin with, right?
Sick.
It's so nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have to show one of these gifts. So it's got a couple things in here, but the greatest thing of all time is in here.
Is it what I think it is? No, it's not. Oh my gosh. What?
Can you even believe this?
What is going
Look
on?
at this.
What?
I have no idea. He found it on Etsy somehow. I can't quite get the glare right, but I mean,
no, dude, we got
take
it.
a look at this. That's just the best thing ever
on earth.
Yeah,
oh,
he made me into a flask. Is that not? I mean, this is the coolest ask for a groomsman ever, and I'm so excited about it.
You say, yeah, you ended all of this. So just like, I said no, but I mean, you let me keep the box. So.
I said no and took the gift and ran.
Yeah, cool.
So it'll be right here for the episode.
Nice.
I'm so excited about this. How are you?
I'm good. I also have something to share. If you haven't heard it yet, fun fact: I live near an outdoor concert venue near an amphitheater, and tonight they've got country music pop superstar Jordan Davis playing, and I don't know who this guy is, but he wants everyone in the world to know who he is with how loud he's playing right now. So, hey, if you guys hear that, feel free to just bop along or anything like that, because it's gonna. I don't know when his set ends, but we'll see how this goes.
Comment your favorite Jordan Davis song down below.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. We appreciate it. Thanks. No, I'm doing all right, man. I made it through another Thursday Night Football game on Amazon Prime Video. It's if the whole game had been what the first 5 minutes and last 10 minutes of that game was, I would have been on the edge of my seat the whole time. But no, it was bad. It was
kind of boring.
A bad game. Just boring, just exciting. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, they're driving down the field first drive. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you wake up with 10 minutes left, and it's like, and then there's more going on. So, I mean, listen, we made it through. Hopefully some better games on the weekend. I know Sunday Night Football will be a lot of fun, and maybe Monday Night Football will be even without Justin Jefferson. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a fun time. Hey, like I said, we've got a great show for you guys today. A little bit of Thursday Night Football recap, a Week 7 look ahead, some studs and duds, some vital news for you. But before we jump into all of that, make sure you are following us on all our social media below. Go ahead, give us a follow. Also, while you're down there, subscribe, like, ring that bell, drop us a comment. Let us know if you had anyone playing on Thursday Night Football, who your stud is going to be, as we'll reveal ours to you a little bit later in the episode. Let us know. We always love to hear from you. We love to chat it up, have a fun time in the comments. So make sure we see you down there. It's going to be a good time. Now let's jump into the news, because there are some things to go over, some injuries, some backfields to break down, some stuff to go over. Wes, hit us with the news.
This is in no particular order. This is pretty much as they came during the week. So grab a cup of coffee. Let's go through the news here. Okay, starting back from Ryan Tannehill's injury. High ankle sprain is where the diagnosis has been determined. He will not need surgery, actually. The Titans are on a bye this week, so he has a full extra week to prepare before they make a decision on his Week 8 status. Right now, we don't know who the quarterback will be to actually start. It could be Malik Willis, but that's still in question. Don't have to decide right now. Julio Jones signed with the Eagles on a one-year deal. Guess who else signed a one-year deal? James Robinson to the Green Bay Packers. Hey, that's pretty cool. Alrighty. So in Los Angeles, we got to figure out what's going on in the backfield for the Rams. Kyren Williams is expected to miss multiple games. In fact, they're trying to figure out if they're going to put him on IR. Now, their bye week is week 10, so that does also play into effect how long he'll be out if they say IR and he'll come back in week 11. We do know that Ronnie Rivers was placed on IR. So, the Rams signed Darrell Henderson and Myles Gaskin, and they activated Royce Freeman from the practice squad amidst all these injuries. It does still appear that the rookie they drafted, Zach Evans, will be the starter, but we will have to just wait to see exactly how this backfield plays out because Sean McVay may use multiple backs. He may just not run at all and just go to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but we'll just have to see what it looks like Sunday, get a feel. Stay tuned next episode, and we'll give you our fluker for real on the Rams backfield and kind of dissect how that snap count works, carry count, all that good stuff. Okay, San Francisco 49ers had three of their greatest players, all more or less Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers to most degrees. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams are all considered day-to-day. However, the injuries are supposed to be long-term. They could be sustained for the rest of the year, meaning they could actually be game time decisions. They could have questionable tags. They could have injury reports for the rest of the week and multiple weeks to come. So this is not going to be an easy recovery for all three of them, but regardless, they're still possibly able to play Monday night. Of course, make sure you got a backup just in case because you obviously have to start McCaffrey if he's healthy. Trent Williams is a big important piece of that offense too, and Deebo Samuel, we've already given you our take on him, so either way, I think you should set him. So anyway, okay. Hey, it's official. Colts rookie sensation quarterback Anthony Richardson will have season-ending injury, which does put Gardner Minshew as the quarterback for the rest of the season for the Indianapolis Colts. Daniel Jones returned to practice on Wednesday, and he's trending in the right direction to play on Sunday. Doesn't seem to be any kind of setbacks from his neck injury. Quarterbacks, big situation. The Arizona Cardinals have let Kyler Murray return to practice in his 21-day window, which has been opened up to him. General idea of what that means is that if he is not healthy enough in 21 days, they will call him out for the rest of the year. That is the policy. Now, he is expected to play this year, and he is likely going to have to play this year because what we know is that Jonathan Gannon and the rest of the Cardinals organization need to see how he plays. He has to play for his job. Otherwise, they're going to have to move on. We know that Caleb Williams and Drake May are in the draft, so he's going to have to perform at a high level. So if you have him somewhere on your bench or your IR slot, give it a couple weeks. He might be there for you. Deshaun Watson did not practice Wednesday, but he did practice yesterday on Thursday. Of course, PJ Walker would probably be the starter if Watson doesn't play this week, but he's trending in the right direction. Jeff Wilson, Dolphins running back, is expected to play for them on Sunday night against the Eagles. Justin Fields, this frustrates me. Justin Fields is still only listed as doubtful, which means that we can't yet put him in our IR slot, and that's so infuriating because we know he's going to miss this week, but there is some optimism about just what his injury looks like because if he's still not entirely ruled out, he could be back in a couple of weeks. He's not going to be on IR, it doesn't appear. Oh yeah, McCole Hardman was traded back to Kansas City. Jimmy Garoppolo did not practice Wednesday, and he did not practice on Thursday with his back injury. He is not expected to play this week. Right now, it does feel like Aiden O'Connell could start. We do know Brian Hoyer took over. Still not exactly determined who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders. And last but not least, Devonta Smith is dealing with a hamstring injury, and while he didn't practice Wednesday, he did practice in some on Thursday. He himself said he's going to be just fine for this epic Sunday night showdown between the Dolphins and the Eagles. That is it. Now let's go over our Thursday night recap, Jaguars vs. Saints, and let me just start by saying, Noah, we kind of hit it out of the park with our must starts, risky starts, and don't starts, my friend.
Shut up, Jordan. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
He's trying to let us know what he thinks about the news, apparently. I don't know. It's not the time.
Yeah. He was doing a little background music. Good Lord.
I don't know. He's trying to copy the intro and outro. I don't know. Whatever. Shut up.
Thank you.
Anyways, listen, Thursday Night Football. Hey, we kind of hit the nail on the head for these must starts, risky starts, don't starts. We should just get rid of this segment. Thursday Night Football is so dumb. Thursday Night Football is so dumb that it was just throw it away. I don't care anymore.
All right.
But listen, we'll run it down. I mean, listen. So the Jaguars win 31-24. Fairly boring game for most of the time, and then we got some spike moments and some big drives, some exciting plays, some defensive stops, some defensive touchdowns. Please give us a good Thursday night game, please. Just so tired. Yeah. I'm just so tired of it. I don't know what to do anymore. It's just confusing. But listen, hey, so excuse me. My must start was Alvin Kamara. Guys, I don't know what to say about 29.3 fantasy points. There was one point where he had 20.1 fantasy points on 9 carries for 22 yards. But hey, PPR is something, man. It's just 14 targets, 12 catches for 91 yards. He is so clearly the spearhead of this offense. It is what it seems. He is just so heavily relied on. 29 opportunities on Thursday Night Football.
Absurd.
I said during the game, and I told myself I needed to say it on the podcast, I almost think Alvin Kamara is a buy high candidate right now. He's so good that if someone is thinking sell high, it's just I think you should just go get him. He has this 30-point ceiling because the team he's so heavily involved. He is so heavily, it's pretty absurd, but 29.3 fantasy points, 17 carries for 62 yards. Could have been an even bigger day. He got stuffed 3 times at the goal line. What do you think, Jordan?
Did you start Kamara? Did you listen to Noah, Jordan?
Apparently he did. He's celebrating. Apparently that's what it is. So it's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So
finally got to his segment of the show.
Is awesome. Yeah, it's just I think he's a buy high at this point. He will continue to be this involved, even with Jamal Williams being involved, even with Kendre Miller getting a little bit of work. Kamara, there were enough plays on Thursday night that I was like, can we get Jamal Williams off the field? And then it's we start with them, and then we get a 29.3 point game from Kamara. So listen, awesome way to start out week 7 if you're a Kamara owner. Super exciting stuff. Buy high. He's going to continue to have this kind of opportunity for himself. So
amazing.
It's exciting stuff. Christian Kirk was your must start. Wes, 19 fantasy points. He 40-something yard touchdown in that fourth quarter. One of the more exciting plays of the game. But hey, he's always got that opportunity to do that. He seems to be up there with Evan Ingram for Trevor Lawrence's favorite targets on this team. It's pretty awesome, and it's exciting stuff. If you've got Christian Kirk, you roll him out confidently, and that's exciting to see. I'll just move it here. We'll move to risky start because Calvin Ridley had 1.5 fantasy points, 1 catch, 4 targets for 5 yards. I don't know if asked you about it, Wes, or try to get your advice, but after week 3 or week 4, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about selling high on Puka right now and buying low. What about Calvin Ridley? You know, he's had a few down weeks, but week 1 showed us he's the top guy, right? My goodness, I'm so glad I did not do that. 1.5 points, 1 catch, 4 targets. 4 targets. I mean, what are we doing here? It's disappointing to say the least. I don't understand why he isn't more involved. I mean, maybe it's the Marshawn Lattimore coverage that he was experiencing tonight. Maybe, you know, Marshawn is a very good corner in the NFL, but it's just yet another week where Calvin Ridley isn't being used. He isn't involved, and he's just not being a part of this offense. I don't know how confident I am in starting Calvin Ridley if I'm a Calvin Ridley owner anymore.
I want to use a word because I was thinking about it as I was watching this game, and I started to think about it because this is what we said. It was a risk to start Calvin Ridley, and we listed some other wide receivers that have been performing better and more points per game. I'm going to describe Calvin Ridley as a liability because we expected him to be a league winner. We went into the season with the excitement from this trade to Jacksonville, and we saw what the videos from the social media team were posting, and we read the training camp reports, and we saw what the beat writers were saying, and we heard what the team was saying and glowing about Calvin Ridley, and we saw the preseason games. And we said, great, this is the Calvin Ridley we saw with the Falcons. This is going to be phenomenal. Now, in the real world, fine, okay? They're 5-2. They're a good team. But in fantasy, since his great week 1 game, he's averaging 8.7 points a week. And I consider him a liability because his ceiling feels so great. I feel like we still have yet to see the best Calvin Ridley game, but I don't know how many more single-digit weeks we're going to put up before it's too late. I just looked at some of the numbers, and he's only led the team in receiving yards twice this season in a game, and he was once 5th in yards for Jacksonville Jaguars receiving yards, 5th in week 3. I mean, there's only like 3 wide receivers. He was behind Evan Ingram and Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
I can't start him anymore. I can't. I have to forget the name and the potential and just keep rolling out so many other wide receivers. I was going to name one, but really it feels like so many other wide receivers are a better option.
Many options. I mean, I'll just run through it. I mean, going into next week, Wes, I mean, you can start, I mean, we'll start pretty broad here, and it feels like these are going to be kind of no-brainers here, but Jacoby Myers or Calvin Ridley?
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. Christian Watson or Calvin Ridley?
I'd take a shot on Watson.
Yeah, he's had double-digit points in both his games. I mean, it hasn't been super pretty, but he's got a decent floor so far. His teammate, Romeo Doubs or Calvin Ridley?
I may go with Doubs.
Yeah, I think I would go with Doubs. I'm Rashee Rice or Calvin Ridley.
Rashee Rice.
Yeah, it's just we're at this point where it's like it feels like, and I'm going to take a quote from you, Wes. It's that Calvin Ridley is going to have his first good week on my bench if I have him, or I won't say his first, but his next Calvin Ridley's next good week will be on my bench. He's at a point now where it's so up and down. I get you had to start him. It's bye Mageddon this week. There's so many teams on bye week. You were running out of options. But Calvin Ridley, he had to be in your lineup probably. But it's at this point now, you probably have a better option on your team. And it's disappointing.
It'd be tough to trade him too.
Yeah, super tough. And it's disappointing to see from a guy who we drafted in the 5th round. It's disappointing, and I'm bummed. I'm bummed big time about his usage.
Big time bum rush, dude.
Yeah. That was a Super Bowl winning sack play call for Aaron Donald against the Bengals. Yeah, that was a big time bum rush on Green. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay, someone I'm not big time bum rushed by is Evan Ingram. He seems to be a super consistent guy. He was my risky start because hey, if we don't get Trevor Lawrence, this is going to be something that we need to really maybe consider here. I don't know what the target share is going to be like. Still gets 7 targets. That's 5 catches for 45 yards. He had a couple early on. I thought it might be a big game for him, but it feels like this Jaguars offense can like come out hot and then it kind of gets a little lukewarm during the middle of the game, and then they come back and they do pretty well. So, but Evan Ingram, 9.5 fantasy points from your tight end is, hey, you're probably happy with that. You're good job. There you go. Evan Ingram, risky start. Good to go. Our don't starts here. Rashid Shaheed. So 7.2 fantasy points. He might be worth like a roster spot. 8 targets is something, and coming off another big week last week, and then getting 8 targets now. I'm not fully convinced, but it probably a name to monitor to see over the next week or two what it kind of looks like here.
Yeah,
but I'm not fully bought in. But 8 targets is something to turn ahead at. It's something to notice and take note of. So
I need to see what happens when Derek Carr isn't throwing it 55 times in a game,
dude.
Because everyone had an insane amount of targets.
Dude, Derek Carr's so angry.
He's kind of mad at being a New Orleans Saints.
He's so mad, and I mean I get it. Because his fans were booing him from the first drive. Like the first drive was like a turnover on downs. They punted it away and like came off the field after the 3rd down, and it was like Jordan Davis if he was bad right now. That would be what the audience would be like. Yeah. It was just echoing boos just in that dome, and it was like it was one drive, guys. Like what? Like are we that mad about this? I tweeted about it. I was like, wow, the Saints fans hate Derek Carr. Like this is just insane. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, you're right. He had a ton of targets to a ton of people. So that's definitely something worth noting there. 7.2 points. Hope you didn't start him. Michael Thomas, hey, 13.2 fantasy points, and like 11 of them came on a 3-play drive. I was I was so annoyed. I was playing a guy who had Michael Thomas, and I was finally like, I was like, he'll probably get him the 10 points. That's the floor. So we're probably, that's what I'll expect. He'll probably hit that projection there. And then he's like, we're like in like the 4th quarter, and it's like, oh man, it's like, all right, like he's not doing anything. He's getting locked down. This is awesome. And then like 3 plays go by, and it's like, oh, well, now he has his best game of the season. That's neat. Cool. I was fully expecting just another touchdown to pile on top of that, just because it's me.
I thought
really,
so too.
Just what it felt like. I was just cool. I'm just gonna be buried from Thursday night on. But hey, 13.2, 7 targets, he had 3 catches for 42 yards. Like we said, 2 of those catches and like 30 of those yards came on 1 drive. So it's not anything to get really excited about, but somehow, some way, if you need 10 points in your lineup, Michael Thomas will somehow get them to you, it seems like.
Confirmed. So he is Mr. Consistent this year.
He's actually, hang on, I want to pull up, it's actually really funny because I saw a tweet this week about his yardage, and it's like what he's been at every single week this year. And it's pretty absurd because, I mean, we mentioned it on the last podcast, but it really is. He has nearly the same stat line every single week. It's crazy. So here's his yardage since week 1. So for 7 weeks now, here's his yardage: 61 yards, 55 yards, 50 yards, 53 yards, 65 yards, 45 yards, 42 yards. It's just
wow.
He's gonna land you right there. Somehow that's what he does. Former offensive player of the year. There you go. He just gets you.
Amazing.
40 to 60 yards, a few catches, and sometimes a touchdown. Who knows? Anyways, we made it through another Thursday night game, you guys. Jordan, feeling good? Feeling good now that we're done with Thursday night. There you go. Just a couple other guys we'll talk about here real quick. We mentioned Jamal Williams was getting opportunities on the field. 5 rushes for 14 yards, just 1.4 fantasy points. So his first game back may not have been as much of a workload as they usually want to give him, but it does seem that Alvin Kamara has this job pretty locked up. So that's good there. Chris Olave, Wes, like you said, everyone got so many targets because Derek Carr threw the ball 55 times. 15 targets for Chris Olave, and my goodness, there was some of the lowest quality targets I've ever seen. It was just so bad. He gets 12.7 fantasy points, so your day isn't ruined there. But man, through 3 weeks, Chris Olave was lighting it up, and he was a top 12 wide receiver without scoring a touchdown, and he was doing really well. And then just kind of falling off a little bit. I don't know if you trade him, you probably keep him in the lineup because obviously when you're getting 15 targets, you're obviously doing something and you have some sort of connection with that quarterback. So roll him back out there. The touchdowns will come. His better days will come. So that's exciting stuff. I can't believe I'm saying this. I cannot believe I'm saying this.
Okay.
Taysom Hill might be an every week starter in fantasy again. Dude, what is going on? What are we doing here? He had 8 targets last week. He has another 5 targets this week, 4 for 50. And then he has 5 carries for 18 yards and the goal line touchdown there. I mean, it seems like his role might be shifting and he might be fantasy relevant on a week to week basis. It's just 16.8 from a tight end. If you threw him in there, congratulations. It's just so confusing, but I mean, he might be in the waiver wire. It's I don't know. I hate this guy so much. I hate Taysom Hill.
He can be a bye week injury fill-in. That's a good use of him.
Yeah, I think it feels like he's getting 10 opportunities feels like more than he got any single game last year. And he had at least 8 opportunities last week too. It's just it's another one of these things where it's maybe with Shaheed again. I don't know. Maybe it's just this monitor this and see what happens. But it's so annoying because nobody starts him. So just there you go. It's hey, you can direct snap it to Alvin Kamara and have the tackle run ahead of him. That's cool. A play option for him. It's just, whatever. I'm complaining about 30 points from Kamara, but whatever. It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, the Saints were something not special on Thursday night. Last couple here. Travis Etienne, another game of 2+ touchdowns, 6 touchdowns in his last 3 games. Not anything super efficient, but he's getting the looks and he's getting the opportunities to score, and it's paying off for him. So Travis Etienne owners, have a ball. Congratulations, another 20+ point week from Travis Etienne.
He's amazing. Yeah. I'm so glad we get a chance to spotlight him because we haven't really, because he wasn't scoring. I think he's only scored 30 points once, so it's nice to be able to include him in our hyped up segment. But gosh, he is winning leagues with the way he's performing right now.
It's absurd. It's absurd. I don't really understand what's going on here. Trevor Lawrence, 20.1 fantasy points. Saved by that Christian Kirk touchdown, but it wasn't a great game. A great game for rushing for Trevor Lawrence, which is something we didn't expect. It was hey, he's got a bum knee. I personally didn't start him this week in a league where I had him. I didn't think the matchup was very good, and I was a little worried about the injury. And had he not gotten the touchdown, it wouldn't have been a great game for him. He was sitting at 9 points for a while. Yeah. And then couple plays, the offense needs to kick back into gear. It's a close game. They need to score a touchdown. He figures it out and he gets there. But if you started him, you're probably pretty happy with 20.1. So I mean, I've got a waiver claim pending. I just realized that no one will hear what this waiver claim is until tomorrow morning, and it's going to clear tonight after we finish this recording, Wes. So,
great!
I got a waiver claim in for Russell Wilson to start this week because that was just the best pivot option I felt like I had. You and I talked about it. I texted you. I said, "What do we think here?" Russ has been a better option in fantasy this year as it is. So, you gave me that confidence. I left the waiver claim in. So we'll see what happens. Hey, check in. If you're in my league where I put in the claim in, you can see if I got him. This is a message to a very niche market right here. But to the 11 of you that are in this league with me, you will know tomorrow. Yeah. There you go.
Awesome.
Nailed it. Listen, there's NFL ball. Let's get through to just regular good games in the week. I don't know who's next week. Not looking forward to it. That's all I got to say. I can't wait till Thanksgiving where we don't have to watch an Amazon Prime broadcast of football.
Right.
Maybe I don't know. There's probably one. There's probably one, but I know a few of them are going to be on. A couple of them are going to be on Fox and CBS. So I'm just excited for us to not have to deal with that broadcast. Anyways, listen. Hey, Week 7 is here. As I mentioned, it's by-mageddon, by-apocalypse, whatever you guys want to call it. Too many big names on bye week, people that you got to figure out how you're going to fill in their role on your team. So we had some studs and duds for you. We're going to go into them right now. As a reminder, Wes and I each have one stud and one dud. These are guys that we think are going to exceed expectation, guys that we think are going to disappoint. And we don't know each other's studs or duds, so this is always going to be now a fun, open, just realization surprise of us having this happen here for Week 7 and beyond. So, Wes, tell me who your Week 7 stud is. Me and Jordan both want to know.
Yeah, for everyone listening there in the Phoenix area, I want to convince you to start Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. He's my stud for the week.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. So
yes,
we've been on this train for a couple weeks now, but really it was kind of confirmed when you mentioned him before, and then we kind of went into him as our waiver wire, and then we even talked about him last episode. Instead of Jordan Mason, we were saying, look, Jordan Mason is not Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to be the guy. He's not going to do what McCaffrey does. You're not going to get 30 points from him. So let's look at some other options, some better options. And the way Rashee Rice is playing, he is clearly the number one wide receiver for the Chiefs. Don't even be scared of McCole Hardman. That's not... When he was there, we never even started him. Tyreek Hill. No, he was not relevant to the Chiefs. So here's a couple of things just to give a little more statistical confidence. They're playing the Chargers, and they are allowing the second most points to wide receivers in the NFL. And depending on your PPR format, if it's half PPR, it's number one. So they are very good for wide receiver matchups. Now, since week 3, Rashee Rice has either been first or second in wide receiver targets. All but 2 games, he's led all wide receivers in receptions. All but 3 games, he's led all wide receivers in yards. As of right now, he's leading the Chiefs wide receiver room in targets, receptions, and yards, and touchdowns. He is the quadruple crown champion 6 weeks in for the Chiefs wide receiver core. He's the clear wide receiver 1, and I am starting him in the midst of by-mageddon. I've got Garrett Wilson on a bye. Locking him in. I'm feeling pretty good. He's my flex option. I'm excited to see this come to fruition as a bona fide Chiefs starting wide receiver. He is my stud for week 7.
Yeah, I love Rashee Rice so much, and he is a guy that I have on multiple teams. He's a guy that I definitely tried to get in multiple leagues last week when I was telling you the waiver pickup just on it was on Tuesday, actually. Telling you the waiver pickup on Tuesday. I said, somebody I had claims in for, couldn't get him in every league that I wanted to get him in. But he is a guy that I believe needs to be 100% rostered. He's very, very, very good. And one last thing I'll add. Sorry, 2 things, actually. I have 2 things to say. Remember last week when we were like, whoa, Brandon Cooks just threw together a 15-point game. That was neat. Cool.
Yeah.
The Chargers allowed that there. That was exciting. So, hey, week 1, remember when we watched River Craycraft be like fantasy relevant? And we were like, yeah, there you go. That's a fun time. No disrespect to Craycraft, but I will say Rashee Rice is probably a little bit better than he is. Hey, listen, it's going to be an exciting time for all of us watching this Chiefs-Chargers game. Last thing I'll say, too, is that think back over the years. The games we have gotten from the Chiefs and the Chargers when they have played each other. They've always been games that have been game of the year candidates. We think about Travis Kelce taking like the 5, 6, 7 yard in route in overtime to the house. All the the yards after catch there. We think about last year, week 2, when there was a shootout there in Arrowhead when Justin Herbert broke his ribs, played through it. Had a fun game there. Listen, it's always been an exciting game. Should be high scoring. Should be a good time here. And I believe Rashee Rice should be locked in the lineups. I 100% agree with you, Wes. Rashee Rice is a stud candidate. It might just become tradition to talk about Rashee Rice on this podcast because it's been like 4 episodes in a row now, and I can't get enough of this guy. The breakout game is coming. The breakout is coming. The 25-point game is coming. And I thought it would be against Denver last week. It was not. It has a chance to be against the Chargers this week. And hey, maybe it'll be against the Broncos next week when they play them again. So who knows? It'll be a fun time. Rashee Rice, if he's available on your waivers for nothing right now, go grab him, please. Do it.
Justin Herbert plays lights out against Kansas City. So this I anticipate to be a serious shootout, much to Marianne Doe's detriment, the super fan from the Monday night game.
Oh man.
What a sweetheart.
No, what are we doing? Oh my goodness.
Tell us about your stud. Who's the person you're rocking?
I'm hitting you with my stud here. And it's a guy, listen, it goes hand in hand. It's a guy that we've talked about a lot on the show as well here. But I'm buying again in week 7. Zay Flowers is absolutely a stud for week 7 here. The Detroit Lions are allowing at least 13.5 fantasy points to wide receivers over each of the last 3 weeks. Over the last 4 weeks, Zay Flowers has had a 28% target share in this offense. I expect the run game to struggle from Baltimore against the number 1 ranked run defense that Detroit has. So the pass game will have to be working there for Lamar Jackson. And when he wants the pass game to work, he looks for Zay Flowers. And it's exciting. Zay Flowers is undoubtedly a week 7 stud, and is who I want to hype up here. Get your expectations up there because he is going to blow them out of the water. He got his first touchdown last week. I think he finds the end zone again this week. It's going to be a fun time. Zay Flowers, week 7 stud.
And the Titans defense is good enough to put any kind of litmus test to Fluker for real candidates, honestly, the way they're performing, and for Zay Flowers to continue to grow and develop as the clear wide receiver 1. It's a very similar situation with Rashee Rice because there's a talented tight end, and the wide receiver is the person that we're both advocating for as our stud. And Zay Flowers, something that you shared with me once, is that he's getting more targets than Mark Andrews. I mean, he is performing at a high level, and it seems like that he is becoming Lamar Jackson's favorite option on this offense. I don't want to say that we need to, sell Mark Andrews at this point, but I'm just trying to prove and deliver the point that Zay Flowers is pretty much who we thought he was. There's still going to be a huge game to come. I know this, and could be this week, but he is an excellent option for all of the teams on a bye this week. I very much like Zay Flowers.
Me too. I'm a big fan. No more things to be said. Tell us who you're not a big fan of. AKA your dud, AKA who's going to suck.
Yeah. You know who's going to suck this week? It's going to be Javonte Williams. I have seen him in so many starting lineups across all 6+ fantasy leagues that I'm in. And I just want to tell all of you, don't start Javonte Williams. I know we're in a tough spot. Maybe you've got Joe Mixon. Maybe you've got Breece Hall, Tony Pollard. For those that are starting Dameon Pierce, I don't know why, but there's that. Yeah. You got Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard and, Derrick Henry, right? There's a lot of good running backs that are out right now. And it's like, well, I mean, he's the starter. I guess I'll roll him out. No, he's not the starter. He's not the starter. That's the thing. Jaleel McLaughlin had more of a snap count, and he literally started in their last game. Javonte Williams is not the starter. We can move on from him. He did 35% snap share last week against Kansas City. McLaughlin is the clear starter. I would much, much rather have to roll out McLaughlin than to have to roll out Javonte Williams. Do not start Javonte Williams for this week.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on top of it. It's a uncertain backfield. It feels like it doesn't seem like it's something that we can have a lot of confidence in nearly anyone. But I have more confidence in Jaleel McLaughlin than I do Javonte Williams right now. So it's definitely something about an undrafted rookie running back who is getting the first snap of games, who's getting more snaps in games than Javonte Williams. It's something worth noticing and something worth taking action over. So Javonte Williams is definitely a dud candidate for week 7. I have no notes. No notes.
No notes. Okay. Close us out. Give us, Jordan, any notes? Any notes? I think he said cry. Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think he said cry. I'm not sure what just happened there.
Cry?
Okay, Jordan,
yeah, because he has Javonte Williams in his lineup. So he's like, oh, no, that makes me cry. All right, who's your dud for week 7?
Well, I'm going to take you on a little journey. Well, actually, Wes, let me ask you, have you ever been to Baltimore?
I've been to DC on a school trip, so I don't know if I was in the area exactly.
Maybe nearby. I mean, I don't know geography whatsoever, so we could just be getting flamed in the comments right now. Who knows?
So probably. I don't think it's actually all that close.
There's a couple of suburbs in Baltimore, and one of them is called Studsville, and that's where Zay Flowers resides. And there's another one called Dudsville, and that is where Gus Edwards resides. Gus Edwards is a week 7 dud. No doubt about it. Detroit is giving up the fewest fantasy points to running backs this year. In fact, they've given up 2 rushing touchdowns to running backs all year. All year, that is, they've given up 2. Wow. We're in week 7, guys. Week 7, and they've given up 2 rushing touchdowns. Detroit run defense is no joke. They have shut down nearly everyone they have played against. The only person who has had any sort of fantasy relevance against them was Kenneth Walker III. Everybody else has been straight up terrible. It's been so bad. Listen, so Gus Edwards, I know it's by Mageddon. I know it's tough. I know there's not many options. But I will tell you, and I join you in doing this, and I urge you to do this. Even on by Mageddon, in leagues where I have Gus Edwards, I'm benching Gus Edwards for guys like the aforementioned Jaleel McLaughlin. And even in one league, I am benching him for Jeff Wilson Jr. That is how strongly I feel about this, that Gus Edwards will not do anything against this Detroit defense. This game should be close. It should be tight. It should be back and forth offensively. They're going to want to be effective on offense. I expect to see Justice Hill get a higher snap share in this week than I expect Gus Edwards to get. It's not going to happen for Gus Edwards. I am pivoting to even the most unlikely of names this week if I have Gus Edwards. So Dudsville resident, week 7 dud is Gus Edwards.
Dudsville resident. I feel like Justice Hill has also been more fantasy interesting than Gus Edwards.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago he was definitely it, and then last week it felt like we were back to a split. There were leagues that I picked up Justice Hill because I was like, okay, he seems to be the more fantasy relevant one for the rest of the year. He's definitely got the PPR value here in this offense as far as a running back who could get targets, but as I mentioned, Zay Flowers getting a lot of targets here. Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, and Odell Beckham, I guess, when they're not picking their nose on the sideline. I don't know. Who knows? Gus Edwards, week 7 dud. That's just it. I am starting Jaleel McLaughlin, guys, over. Oh, I know this song. I think I've heard that song before, guys. I think that's how that one goes. You know
that one.
Right. Yeah. That's a good one. Thanks, Jordan. We're going to close up the show. Hey, listen, that's going to do it for this episode. Week 7 in bulk by Mageddon coming this weekend. It's going to be a fun time. Godspeed. It's going to be something that we are trying to figure out with you as we go on here. Listen, before we go, drop in the comments there. Let us know what you think is going on with Calvin Ridley. Did you start Alvin Kamara? How many is he going to get 20 catches on 40 targets for 12 yards next week? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. It seems to be the offensive game plan there for the New Orleans Saints. Let us know in the comments as well who your studs and duds are. And while you're down there, subscribe, ring the bell, and also follow us on all our social medias. Again, we are always putting out content for you. We love interacting with you on there. Shoot us messages. Let us know if you have any questions. Start set questions. Comment them on our content. We'll be happy to answer them there. join us on Tuesday for our Week 7 recap of By Mageddon. It's going to be a good time. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy. Shut up!
4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.